Okay, Marie, so you have fibromyalgia
Yes,
and some arthritis as well.
that's right.
So can you tell me about the fibromyalgia?
Yes, I've had fibromyalgia for about 5 years and lower back pain for about the same time.
And the lower back pain is the arthritis?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
found out that it's mild arthritis, but
Yeah.
it's in the very lower part of my back. Yeah.
Right. And how does the fibromyalgia affect you?
Oh, well, I wake up feeling like I've been hit by a truck and with no energy, and it takes
Okay.
me a good couple of hours to get myself motivated enough to do normal things, everyday things.
So when you say hit by a truck, what does that mean?
Every part of my body is aching.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't had a good sleep. I feel like it's been broken. Even sometimes I might sleep right through, which is rare, but even then I'll wake up feeling really exhausted.
Mhm. And aching?
All over.
Okay.
All over my body.
All right.
Yeah.
And was that like that this morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very stiff. So it takes me, well, at least half an hour for that stiffness to go, and then probably an hour or two for me to feel like I can do a lot. Although this morning I got moving fairly quickly.
You're probably excited about coming, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, the lower back pain, is that something that happens in the morning as well?
Yep, definitely.
Mhm.
And at night, mainly. If
Okay.
I'm moving around during the day, it's not as bad, but it can flare up at different times whenever. You know, one day it might just flare up and be really bad for the whole day.
And what does that cause for you?
Well, you know, it affects my work, it affects my day-to-day living.
Are you unable to walk or unable to sit down?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
I just find no matter what I do, I'm in
It's
pain.
just constant
and
pain.
It just affects my feeling of well-being, you
Yeah.
know, and being able to live from day to day in a normal way.
Yeah.
So I find, you know, the doctors told me that the fibromyalgia will be playing a part in the pain in my lower back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had to rate the effect of the fibromyalgia on you out of 10 on an average day, what would it be?
On an average day, probably about 6.
Okay.
On a bad day, closer to 9. And on not such a bad day, probably a 4.
Okay. And the lower back pain?
Pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah, because they go hand in hand with me in pain.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've just had a session with Philip.
Yes.
How was it?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it would be good because I've heard so much feedback, and you know, in my line of work, I know about how kinetic works. But having that session was amazing. Yeah. I just felt when I got up, definite. I started off with I think the pain level was probably about an 8, and finished up with a 1.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all over pain.
All over pain, yeah. I had it mainly in my shoulders today, and in my lower back it's always been there.
Yeah.
And that's, like just about gone.
Okay.
Which is a relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now,
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling almost normal then, if it's
Definitely.
like 1 out of 10.
Yeah. Freedom.
Yeah. It must be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my energy level's up too.
Yeah.
Because I started off with about a 5. I had not much energy this morning when I
Yeah.
got here, and now I feel pretty good. Probably
Yeah.
a 9 or a 10.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay, so is there anything else?
Miracle.
Yeah. And how long did Philip work on you?
I can't remember. I think it was about 15, 20 minutes,
Okay.
wasn't it? Yeah.
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 And a drastic difference. And you have had other...
Yeah.
Have you been on medication or...
Look, I'm not one for taking a lot of medication, but that's all the doctors could provide for me. I went to a specialist and he said, oh, we can fix it, just take this, this and this. And I'm not one, I'm pretty sensitive to medication, and I'd rather try things that are natural, that will work better for me. So I've tried different things, and I find that, you know, kinesiology is amazing.
Yeah.
And especially the kinetic I found super amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And especially today.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.